Welcome. Thank you so much for being here. To get this topic started, I'm just going to begin with asking a few questions to see where we are at this very moment. So, let me ask you something. I don't know if you have ever felt, or if you're currently feeling, that everything that happens in your life, maybe it feels a little bit too overwhelming or too much. Or maybe you have felt like, and you kind of blame yourself, why am I always reacting so intense to everything happening outside? Or maybe you have found yourself jumping at a sound of a door closing, or just getting like a startle, like with everything that is happening in your surroundings. Or maybe you feel completely numb and disconnected from yourself during moments when maybe you should be celebrating and feeling happy about what you probably accomplished or you're celebrating, right? Or maybe you have experienced this familiar surge of adrenaline and energy while you're sitting in this perfectly safe meeting, but your whole body and mind just want to runs away from there. Or maybe you have felt so exhausted that you just can't get out of bed. Even if you have had all the hours of sleep that are good to have, you still feel tired and fatigued, and it just you lack the motivation to get out of bed. Or perhaps you go to bed and it's impossible to fall asleep. Your mind doesn't stop thinking about what happened in the day and what might happen in the future. Your body feels this restless energy that you feel like this like spiders crawling to your body and like this like oh like oh, I need to do something to move. If any of this sounds familiar, let me tell you something. You're not alone. Unfortunately, millions of people are living with a nervous system dysregulation, or in other words, in survival mode, or in other words, in chronic state mode, and they don't even know about it. And unfortunately, when we are living in survival mode, we get to experience a lot of symptoms physically, mentally, and emotionally. And we get to engage in a lot of behaviors that not only make us feel more disconnected, more overwhelmed, and not good. Doesn't feel make us feel good, even though our body is just protecting us. Because understanding that the nervous system coordinates everything inside us, like from our digestions to our emotions to our sleep patterns, allows us to see that when we look at the nervous system and we understand that it might be in survival mode, whether because of trauma, chronic stress, or life overwhelming demands, then we're able to understand that everything that is happening to us or that we're experiencing is not that because there is something wrong with us or that we're doing something wrong. It's just our nervous system is screaming to be taken care of. It's in overdrive mode. And when we are overdrive, when we are overworked, when we are like our nervous system is oversensitive, we want to address the nervous system in order to find well-being again and to find safety inside again. So in today's video, I am going to address, first of all, what is it to be living on survival mode? What is nervous system dysregulation and why everybody's talking about it? And why is it important to address our nervous system? So welcome to the Embodiment Lab. My name is Alba Porras, and I am a nervous system informed practitioner, a somatic coach, a mental health practitioner, a mindfulness, and a yoga instructor. I love sharing information about the nervous system, the connection between the mind and body, top down and bottom up approaches. So in this space embodiment lab, my objective and my mission is to offer practical tools for you and information that can help you understand yourself better, but also help you find that safety so you can go from surviving to thriving, from feeling like I feel like something is missing or something is wrong to like I feel connected and good in my skin. So I really hope this is helpful for you. Please feel free to Share in the comment section how this information is landing for you and if you have any questions. So I'm here for you. Anyway, so let's get started. So whether you're here because you're struggling with anxiety, chronic anxiety, high functional anxiety, OCD, whatever is that you might be experiencing, or maybe you're experiencing burnout, depression, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, or you just feel very stressed out, or you just want to learn more about why you react the way to react to certain situations. I hope this information is this missing piece that you have been searching for. So let's begin by addressing what the nervous system is. As I told you before, you want to maybe think about the nervous system as this sophisticated home security alarm. When it's well regulated, the alarm activates when there is genuine danger and turns off when the threat passes. If you look at it as a smoke detector alarm, a well-regulated nervous system detects fire and detects smoke, but it does not go on when there is the smoke of the toaster, for example, right? Because that will mean that that smoke alarm is too sensitive, and imagine that that smoke alarm went off when your toaster was just getting like that normal, like little like a smoke that comes out when you are toasting your bread. And then the smoke detector calls the firefighters, and then the firefighters are in your home suddenly using all the water to try to get rid of the smoke of your toaster. And it was not even fire, it was not even like full-blown smoke. It was just this slight thing that happened that turned your smoke detector into alarm mode. And then you were floated by the firefighters. That happens exactly when we are in dysregulation. Imagine you coming, all the firefighters coming, and 10 firefighters are just flooding your mind and your body, and you feel completely dysregulated and emotionally maybe overwhelmed, maybe disconnected. And this is just your nervous system going into alert mode. Our amygdala, which is this threat detector, determines whether something is threatening or not. And this really depends on our history, what we have experienced in our lives, our current state of our nervous system, and what we are experiencing right now, and many other factors, our health, and so on and so forth. So sometimes our nervous system, especially after trauma, chronic stress, our threat detector may become a little bit too sensitive and become seeing danger when there is not really danger. And I'm gonna tell you like just an example to bring it into reality. For example, for a person who is burnout and who has been used to not only being a perfectionist but working and being on that go 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 all the time, if that person, like now that we are in burnout, tries to rest or tries to be still, usually what happens is that the person not only begins feeling a lot of shame or guilt, but there is that restless energy that I cannot rest or be still because something is gonna go wrong and I cannot take a moment to rest. So this, even though rest, quiet time and stillness is something that we could consider it to be safe, our nervous system is detecting it as this is something dangerous and I cannot do this. And that's why it goes into the nervous system states also determine the story that we're telling our head. So if I am in a certain dysregulated state, I might begin thinking nothing is ever going to go right. If I stop and rest, everything is going to go wrong. Some like people are not going to do what they're supposed to do, blah blah blah. So we want to understand that the our nervous system can go into this regulation. And the normal thing to be, I guess, if there's anything such as normal, is that our nervous system will have the fluidity to go into the many states that is capable of going into and just go in and out of those states with fluidity and flexibility. So a regulated nervous system, if would look like if I get angry because a car cut me off in traffic. I'll get maybe angry at that moment, but then I'm able to shake it off the minute or so after that. A chronically dysregulated nervous system will not only get anger, probably burst into like explosive anger and maybe hold on to that anger for the rest of the morning or the rest of the day. So it's harder to, I'm not going to say like, it's not like shaking it off, but it's harder to go back to feeling safe or go back to that window of tolerance. So just let me wrap it up. Some signs of dysregulation of the nervous system and being in this survival mode or alert mode is we have this maybe this restless energy, we have difficulty sleeping, we have digestive issues, we have probably racing thoughts, we have constant fatigue, we have physical, mental, and behavioral symptoms that don't feel good for us. And the thing with being in this survival mode is that it's really hard to access our creativity, our intuition, our full potential because our system is constantly scanning for threats inside and outside. And it is just like thinking that you want to plant a garden in your house when there is a hurricane or a fire outside. It's impossible. Like not only nothing is going to grow and flourish, you're not even going to be able to enjoy setting up the garden because there is like a fire and a hurricane out there. So you have no energy or capacity to think about how you're going to do this. So this is what it is like to be in survival mode. Your whole self is spending a lot of energy and trying to resolve the threats that are in front of it, and that's why it's harder to connect to these other capacities that you have and skills that you have. Like it's maybe it can be poor memory, maybe it's hard to concentrate, maybe it's hard to make decisions, maybe it's hard to even feel safe with others, you distrust everyone, you maybe start thinking that everybody is against you, and so on and so forth. So the truth is like to address this is that it's because of everything that we are experiencing, and especially after the pandemic, being in survival mode, it can be the new normal now. A lot of people are experiencing chronic stress, and this again, this does not mean that there is something wrong with us. There's nothing broken with our nervous system. Our nervous system is just trying to do what it's meant to do, which is making sure that we're going to survive. So it's focusing on surviving. And what we want to learn to then is to address the nervous system and how our nervous system, understand how our nervous system operates so we can begin living that survival mode and bringing us back into ourselves. So whenever life challenges happen, we are able to address them from a connection with ourselves, a trust with ourselves, and that we got this against the challenges that are in front of us. And it's a very different feeling when we address life circumstances from the fear mode versus from the certainty, the safety inside from that window or ventral vagal state of the nervous system. And again, this doesn't mean that when I have a good nervous system, it means that I'm calm all the time and I don't feel any angry or anything like that. Being this beautiful life human experience is about experience a full spectrum of emotions that we have. And when we work with our nervous system, we're able to sit with uncomfortable emotions. We're able to be with ourselves. I don't know if you have ever experienced that. And I'm gonna give a personal example. Like I many years ago, like one of my favorite persons in my entire world passed away, my grandma. And at that time, first of all, had not come across the work of somatics or the nervous system. I was only working with my body from the yoga perspective. But looking back, I can see that I was using yoga and meditation to actually dissociate more because I had not embodied taking up space, sitting with like my emotions or anything like that. So when I experienced that loss, and it was a big loss, I remember putting it under the rug and just going more into this work mode, workaholic more mode, and go, 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 go. And let me find another thing to focus on and let me not look at this because it's so painful. I think I grieved that very poorly, I guess. I don't think I even grieved it. And a few weeks ago, I my husband and I lost our dog, and it's a really really hard loss. And one of the things that I realized that the first thing my one of the first things that my body remembered was the loss of my grandmother, and I I began like noticing how much I have shut down my own grief back in that time. And now that was experiencing a lot of grief because of the loss of my dog, our dog, I realized how much sadness I had been storing. And it was like the loss of my dog had opened up a door box of this grief that was sitting there waiting to be seen. And I can see now that because of the work that I have done with my nervous system and with my body, is now I give myself space to get grief. Now I give myself a space to feel my emotions. Now I understand what my body is trying to tell me and what type of needs I need. It's not about like resolving my sadness, resolving my need, trying to get rid of it. It's about being with it so I can process and transition it. The only way out is through. And what I was doing it is the before is like the only way out is not even going out. It's like avoiding it altogether. So nervous system work allows you to be able to sit with yourself, with the goodness and also with the darkness, with the light and the dark. So you're able to integrate the different parts of you. You're able to feel yourself. You're able to embrace your whole being. And you're also able to be more assertive and connect what you're thinking, what your heart and soul desires with your actions. So you're not always misaligned. Oh, I wanted to say no, but again, I ended up people pleasing and I say yes. And then you feel more shame and more guilty and blah, 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 blah. You were not aligning what you were saying, what you were doing to what you were actually needing. So this is importance of working with the nervous system. More alignment, more connection with yourself, better quality of life. So, anyways, I talked a little bit too much sometimes, but as I was saying, the nervous system has different response to a stress. And I gave you the example of the smoke alarm or the security alarm that when it goes into detecting a threat, it goes up and turns up, and then the automatically it goes into different ways of responding. We all have heard about the fight or flight response, but there's also the freeze, the collapse, and the fawning state, all of which are different responses of the nervous system. If you have ever asked yourself why every time you're stressed or feeling threatened or feeling anxious, instead of setting the boundaries that you needed or speaking up or doing something to like keep you, let's say like if you, for example, there's people that feel guilty because when something, let's say they got rough and they paralyzed completely and they begin feeling guilty because they didn't do anything, but they couldn't. Their nervous system went into this freeze response or even collapse, shut down. And physiologically, they couldn't respond differently. That's why it's so important to understand the different responses of our nervous system. So we give an understanding to why am I responding the way I'm responding, and how can I help myself to support myself to instead of like get into that dysregulation and becoming more dysregulated, I can bring myself back into safety and respond differently. So, anyways, we can have this. I told you about the place where you feel safe and connected when you're not dysregulated, and when you have this threat, then you become activated. And this activated can look like in different ways. So you can become activated in a way that you go into this mobilized energy, this sympathetic part of the nervous system. This is where the fight or flight response reside. And this is where there's like this surge of energy of your body and your mind to prepare for battle or to escape for danger. It is like your body in turbo mode, flooding you with adrenaline and energy and heightened awareness to get you out of where you are. And this can look like in your body with like rapid heartbeat, maybe shallow breathing, maybe a lot of muscle tension, maybe difficulty sitting still. You're always fidgeting, for example. Can look like digestive issues, insomnia, sweaty palms, trembling or shaking. It can look like racing thoughts, catastrophizing, experiencing anxiety, irritability, constant anger, hypervigilant, not trusting others, not trusting yourself, anxiety, overwhelming emotions, and just difficulty concentrating. This is how the fight or flight look like, or that sympathetic energy. Now, this is a very, very simplify of looking at it. If we go more in depth, we could find differences between how the fight response look like versus how the flight response. But basically, this is the state of your nervous system in which there is mobilized energy towards a threat. This is a hyperactivation mode of your nervous system. Now, there is a lesser response that not a lot of people talked about, which is a freeze, shutdown, and collapse response. Again, this is two different states, and these two reside on the dorsal vagal state of the nervous system. And in this dorsal vagal state of your nervous system, it's like you go into power safe mode. You're shutting down, your body and your mind is trying to conserve energy, and everything is just it slows down. And how does that look like in your body? It looks like fatigue or chronic fatigue, constant feeling of like low energy, like I just cannot get myself to do anything. It's like procrastination, slow digestion, like feeling really heavy, feeling like difficulty to start anything or any movement whatsoever. This is where, like when you say like, I just cannot get out of bed, this is where your body is. Maybe the voice is a little like low, and maybe there's no words to express what you said, what you need. Maybe there is this slouch posture of like, "Ah, I just can't with this." Maybe there's a low body temperature. Maybe you experience brain fog. Maybe there's this emotional numbness. So when they ask you like, how do you feel? I don't feel anything. Like, what do you need? I have no idea what I need. Like, what do you want? I don't know. You tell me. This is where there is difficulty making decisions. This is where stonewalling resides. And stonewalling is just like we just completely dissociate and disconnect with from the other person and just pretend that the other person is not there. But that's a topic of another episode. This is where we feel disconnected. This is where we don't feel parts of our bodies. And it's just like if I ask you to like tune into your breath, I have no idea where my breath is. Tune into the soles of your feet. How do I do that? Like, tell me because I cannot feel my feet. This is where shame resides. So this is where the dorsal vagal state or the hypoactivation, this is a non-mobilization state. In this state, our body and mind feels like I cannot do anything with this threat. I'm just gonna shut down. Or the freeze response, for example, is like, I know that I want to do this and I know that I need to do this, but I just have these like my feet are on cement. That's freeze. Again, there's a difference between the freeze state and the collapse, but just to summarize it, this is the dorsal vagal state. Now, there's another fascinating response, which is something that resonates a lot with me, and I've been doing actively a lot of work to not chronically default to this state. This is the fawning response. This is where people pleasing resides. And this is a blend state between the freeze. I know I have to say no, but I can't. And the flight, the avoidance of conflict, of confrontation. And again, this is in your body can look like not feeling the difference between you and the other person nervous system. Like it's like you are part of the other person somehow. There is not a we, there is not an us, there is only like you. Like your whole focus is on the other person. You're trying to fix, you're trying to please, you're trying to appease, you're trying to make sure there is an avoidance of confrontation, and so on and so forth. Again, this is a very simplified way of looking into the nervous system, but again, there is a learned way that we usually default onto going. For me, has like most of the time, the way I respond to stress is by fawning. And it's been something that I've been trying to teach myself to not chronically go there and begin being more assertive, to learn how to set boundaries and so on and so forth. So like it's just an invitation now to ask yourself, do you have any chronically way to respond to life? Maybe that's anxiety. Maybe you have gotten used to living in chronic anxiety. You're very functional, but you're feeling anxiety all the time. And the thing about understanding these responses is not only about understanding the science, because this has been researched, and we know that this is the way our body responds. But it's also this understanding can unlock that can be like unlocked some understanding on why you react the way you react, and act the way you act when you're under pressure. And giving some understanding to yourself can get you out of, there's something wrong with me, I'm doing something wrong, and give you more compassion and empower you to begin working with those parts of your body that are calling your attention. At the end of the day, all our body sensations and body signals have a message for us. So anyways, I this is in a nutshell about the nervous system responses, what being in survival mode is, and I'm going to invite you to listen to the next video where I'm going to be talking about how to begin working with your nervous system from kind of like people usually say like, well, it's just about mindset, but honestly, it's not about mindset. You cannot think your way out. You cannot just work in your mindset and think positive thoughts, because although working in your mindsets is very important, you cannot forget your body. Your body has these memories that of like stress and trauma, and your body really keeps a score. So we want to engage not only in a top-down approach, with like talk therapy, for example, is a top-down approach, or like mentally, like the working on the mindset, but also engage on a bottom-up approach in which we are engaging with the nervous system. And again, it's not about finding only relaxation, but rather flexibility in our system. So we can fluid through the many different systems, and we can engage with the 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 human, like this is spectrum of life that requires us to engage in the whole human experience of emotions. So it's not all in your head. It's your body too that is speaking to you, and it's about learning this language. And this journey back to yourself requires understanding about how the nervous system works, understanding that this is an individual and unique journey to you, and that it takes time and patience and a lot of compassion and lots of support, and also the right tools. That's why in the next episode, I'm talking about how can you choose the right tools? Why does some tools do not work? And if you have ever tried tools to manage anxiety and gave you that more anxiety, I'm gonna tell you how and why. So thank you so much for being here. Give me a like if this information was helpful for you, and share it with someone that you think is gonna benefit from this information. And don't forget, if you have any questions, just put it up in the chat. And I hope you have a wonderful day, and see you in the next one.